All right. Who wants to ask a question? Come on up.
My question is for Penny. Yesterday at the start of the talk, you said that you had prepared a different speech or a different presentation. And then at the last minute, you were guided to talk about something else. What was the original presentation about?
I was going to read from my book a detailed explanation or detailed story of the turning point when I was taken on board a ship and I was no longer afraid. And there was a whole change of mindset that went with that. I learned so much just by deciding I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to freak out. I'm not going to scream and cry. There were 20 other people picked up with me, and they were freaking out. And I thought, okay, I'm not doing that. And then I was going to proceed from there with a few other things, but that was the gist of it.
Which book was that?
Book 2, Volume 2 of Consciousness and Energy.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. My question is for Mr. Schratt. The X-37B that returned last month, what do you think it's doing up in space?
Good question. Could be a digital real-time reconnaissance craft. Certainly might be monitoring something in the Mideast, nuclear proliferation monitoring. That could be a mission. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Dr. Sam. Is there anywhere that you know of in the U.S. or somewhere a little closer than Bosnia where we could get these healing properties that you can get in the tunnels that you told us about? And maybe some others would know as well, but...
Haven't done any measurements in the U.S., but pyramid shape is number one. Tumulus, artificial conical hill, is number two, and there are many. They call them mounds, from Ohio to Wisconsin and Illinois, northern Texas. And number three, the water. This place is called Eureka Springs because 150 years ago, people thought, rightfully, that water can heal. Not today's water, the city water, but yes, if it is spring water, it can heal. It's all about the frequencies. I showed a few photographs from Japanese expert Dr. Masaru Emoto. He was talking to the water would change molecular structure. If he was talking nicely, the words of love, the water would make a beautiful hexagonal structure, crystal-like structure, which vibrates very high. If he talks bad, I hate you, I'm going to kill you, the water deforms. And we are 85% water. We talk nicely to ourselves, we're going to change for the better. Or if we think that we cannot do this, we are desperate, this is exactly what we are going to our frequency of the body.
Hi, my question is for you. It has to do with, so what is your thoughts on knowing the location, if you do, of the two black pyramids and their significance when it comes to our ancient history? The one in Antarctica and the other black one in Alaska. What's your thoughts on its purpose? Because the only thing that I can think of is the old expression, when hell freezes over, because then in fact, if in those two places that are black pyramids, basalt black, if they did not have ice covering over them and were exposed to the sun, in fact, wouldn't they be incredibly hot? And if, like the findings they found in Giza, where there was orbs and energy found inside of those pyramids, how would that affect the energy of beings inside those black ones?
The one in Alaska, we got it only from one source. That's the son of the military officer who was there in the 1950s. It is under the ground. That's the claim. It has to be independently verified. Antarctica is a similar story. You cannot access Antarctica as a citizen. Actually, no. You can go on a ship and then you get close, to the coast of Antarctica, and that's it. You cannot actually go there, step your foot there. But what you can do through the satellite photos, you can see if the geometry of the pyramid is present there. And out of 3 good candidates, one really looks like 4-sided pyramid, and it is huge.
I've seen it on the map of a globe since I've seen it posted on a map that's as far back as 1943. It's been it's like the pyramid that's in Antarctica, it's on a globe that was my father's, who was a colonel in the Air Force, from 1943. So it's been well known about for almost a century, I guess.
When they signed the agreement, 30 countries, that nobody but military personnel and researchers cannot go over there was a reason for that, which might have something to do with the pyramids. But probably it's something even much more important. It is under, under the ice.
Dark thing,
Not necessarily. And your other question was about the orbs. I mentioned yesterday that I take groups to Egypt every December, and especially in the Red Pyramid, which is my favorite. There are 3 big chambers there. There are thousands of orbs. You get in there and you can film them. The reason why the orbs got attracted with the energy.
Oh, I know why they're attracted. I'm just saying, how would the ones in the Black Pyramid be affected?
Well, I don't know
if they
that
weren't
because
under
I don't know
ice?
if they are there. But if the pyramid is there, it's always energy amplifiers. So probably they could be found over there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. My question is about the Tic Tac. Why is no one talking about the latest Tic Tac video that came out 4 days ago? Do none of you know about it? I'm saying Tic Tac because 2017, the military let out the film, as everyone knows, is a Tic Tac. You know? Yeah? Oh, Tic Tac. Yes. Ah, yes. Right, okay. There's a new one came out about 5 days ago. Why are we not talking about it? And it's military, it's been declassified it. That's my question. Does anyone know about it?
I just read about it this morning. But, it was actually, I think, taken a year or 2 ago, video. Yeah, and they had some comments from the photographer, military guy. That's all I know at this point, but it's interesting.
I think we talked about that in depth last year, and so there's been an attempt to have something fresh each year. So we know about it, and I think we're not ignoring it. So.
Can I just put 2 cents in here? I think something that's very important to remember right now, because the government is beginning to release more and more things, is that it sort of is an awakening for the population to see these things and relate to the fact that the government has come out and said, gee, we don't know what they are. But this has been going on for so long, and this is not new, and it's going to continue and continue. And that's why we, people that investigate and experience, need to bring this stuff out to the public and get it to the media in a way that they will begin to pay attention. The public wants to know. It's time for the media to step up.
This one's for Penny. You mentioned just previously that there were 20 people that you saw inside the craft. Did you ever see them again?
A few of them were people I went to school with. I never did see the rest. They were from all over the world. So, yeah. And I did not tell the people I went to school with, hey, I saw you on board. I was like,
Why not?
I was too shy.
Okay. But for Kathleen, it's such a joy to be able to be with you again. And I'm so glad that you're here. But this is kind of more woo than you. But I know how closely you worked with Stanton. And I know how much information y'all have brought. I've gotten to interview both of you. And do you still have communication with him?
I don't still have communication with him. Stanton and I had an agreement that whichever one of us passed first, we would attempt to contact the other one. And the night or two after he passed away, there was a light orb that came to me. And I said to it telepathically, "Is that you?" And he said, "Hello, Kathy." And then he said, "I'm really sorry." And I think that was so typical of Stanton because he was apologizing for passing. That was the kind of person he was. He was just a wonderful, sensitive individual and brilliant on top of that, a nuclear physicist who had studied this phenomenon for many, many years and was known around the world. And it was just such an incredible experience to actually have that orb come into my home and to be able to communicate with him as confirmation.
I'm really glad that you had that opportunity, because when I last spoke with him, I interviewed him that Wednesday before he passed. I think you knew that. But it was so funny because he was like, "Well, I don't feel strong. I've got a procedure, and then I'm traveling, blah, blah, blah." And when we finished our conversation and I had somebody lined up for the second hour because he had asked me to do that, he was like, "Yeah, I think I can go on some more." And I'm like, "That would be fine. I've got somebody coming in." And it was my research partner who would have loved to talk with Stanton. And so it was really such a gift because Chase is who called to tell me that he had passed because she knew how much I thought of him. And I was really hoping, because I knew that other than his love, if he reached out to someone, it would be you.
Yeah, we had worked closely together on 3 books, and he had known my Aunt Betty and was very involved in the investigation of the star map. And so after Betty passed, Stanton became my mentor. I was very, very interested in the history of government involvement in the study of UFOs and the evidence, and so he pointed me to various archival collections to visit, that sort of thing. And so we worked together. I think we were friendly. We were friends, and it was just such a pleasure to work with him. He called me just before he left to go to the speaking engagement that he flew to in Ohio, and he said, "Kathy, I don't know if I'm going to make it back home alive." And I tried to talk him out of going. And he said, "No, I made this commitment to the audience, and I'm going to keep it. And if I pass along the way, that's fine." And that's what happened on his way home.
Because he believed in Wu, but not enough to give up meeting his obligation. So, thank you, Doug.
This is for Penny. You talked about the importance of plasma energy and working with that. How do we go about doing that or learning more about that?
Oh, wow. Well, it's coming slowly. We are, as a population, beginning to move beyond the old science, the old ways of thinking. I do have on YouTube, on my original channel, I have a series of videos called Plasma and Consciousness and the Nature of Reality. Plasma Consciousness and the Nature of Reality. I think that's the name of it. And there's part 1, part 2, and part 3. And it's a mini course in electricity and electromagnetism it's interesting. It's not academic. It's for lay people. And there's and then there's a mini course in metaphysics as well, and then an explanation and some photos of here's plasma, here's what it does, here's what it looks like, here's what we can do with it. And there's a lot. So it's coming. And the other thing you can do is practice affecting it with your consciousness, because plasma responds directly to consciousness. And we did, experiment after experiment in the lab showing that that was the case. It takes about 10 minutes, maybe 20 sometimes, for threshold change to occur. And then the change is solid after that. And it will last. So, yeah, experiment with your consciousness. You are plasma. So you're playing with plasma when you experiment with consciousness. Okay, good luck. Try stuff.
I have two questions, and it's for anybody who wants to answer. The first question is, how do you think the pyramids were used in a kind of not so scientific way so we can understand? And the second one is, since we're electromagnetic beings, do you think that a congregation of people together were used in combination with the pyramids to accomplish something, or was the water beneath enough energy for what they were using it for?
I've explained that pyramids are very complex energy machines. They are energy amplifiers. First, they start resonating. The bigger the pyramid, the bigger the resonator. And then if you have certain criteria fulfilled, perfect geometry, square base, 4 sides, perfect orientation, quartz crystal, different materials like limestone, granite, sandstone, volcanic stones, all energy potent. Underground water flow releases negative ions. Second underground water flow, you have charge, voltage, electricity. Pyramid amplifies all these types of energy. And then the energy can be used for different purposes. I explained in the case of Bajan pyramids that we have measured the existence of energy beam, which can be used for the communication on a very long distances. I've explained that the pyramid energy can affect our body in a very beneficial way, so it protects what's the most precious to us, our health. I also shown many slides explaining that the pyramid energy improves the molecular structure of the most important liquid in our life, and that would be water. Number 4, it improves the food. I was not talking about it, but we did experiments with the seeds of beans, proving that when exposed to the pyramid energy, they grow 3 times richer, thicker, healthier. It improves our immunity. It improves our spiritual senses. So the pyramid energy, extremely important. They were not built for one dead body. The story about the pyramids does not belong to the past, but they were built for the living communities. So much we can apply today and in the future.
I would just add that we did a whole lot of experiments with pyramids, seeds, people, water, food. One of the things I have seen, even in the big churches in Europe, same kind of dynamic happens. There's a renewal of whoever or whatever is in or around that pyramid. And I think that was part of their technology of the day. And certainly Sam has brought a lot more to that than I have. But I just would say people renewed themselves and kept going. They lived much longer because they were much more conscious of what do I have to do to not fall apart. So.
Hi. Kind of come today seeking answers. Like, I think what brings us all here, I've been coming for 10 years and the past several months, and I don't know if it's governmental or what, but people do need to speak out, about what they see. There are triangular patterns over my house every night, over the neighborhood, for the past many months. And it's definitely some kind of pattern, and they just stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. And when you get out the binoculars, you can see what I call like one of the motherships. I don't know what it is specifically. Maybe it's a little closer. It's definitely brighter. Maybe it's bigger. But you can see how it turns to one side and communicates like these symbols through the whole thing to these other ships. And I mean, I'm not making this up. I've seen it for months and months. And then there's like the top hatch opens up, and like you can see what we first thought were helicopters maybe coming to check it out. No, you can see it's like some kind of like hovercraft that's like that shape, and the top of this box that is a circle that communicates opens up, and they go into it, and something comes out the other side. And they're all in a pattern. And it's like, I live near Bentonville, home of Walmart. I'm in downtown Rogers. Other people have to be seeing this. And I'll take any answers sitting down. So I'm a little shy. But this is just like, my question is, any information on what this could be? Why don't people see it? Why don't they report it? Just any insight. Has anyone else heard of these triangular?
Pictures of this?
I could sure go home and take some even tonight. My problem is I don't have a way to have that magnification that like a binocular does to specifically see it. But I could keep it on the Big Dipper, and some nights see the tip of the Big Dipper come off and fly away, and then 1, 2, 3.
So you've both seen it?
Oh,
and,
yes.
And,
oh, yes. And other things with it.
Wow. Any sound associated with it, or anything else going on? No? Okay.
Just like I've seen one low over my house before. Nothing going on, no sound, no nothing.
One day, your Big Dipper's right here, okay? And this triangle's this way. And on another day, Big Dipper's still here, and the triangle's this way. And it's just... But
And then there's a triangle.
pattern
There are
of them.
triangles. It's like definitely a grid.
Yes.
There's something.
Yeah.
And
Can you describe the triangle? Are you seeing the physical triangle or just the lights?
With magnification, you can see a little bit of the lines.
But it's like red dot, red dot, red dot, red dot, red dot, red dot.
Right.
I mean, and it goes
Okay.
like around over my house and around. It's like 360 or whatever.
And if you held your arm out and gauged the size according to your thumb, what size would you estimate that
Of like
is?
the red dot, if I'm
Of
looking
the
at
triangle or the red
Oh,
dots?
the
Tell me
triangles.
which-
Well, I'll let you talk.
They're
I just-
massive.
Much like
Massive.
the size of a dinner plate at arm's length, or larger?
Size of like if you were seeing a plane in the sky and seeing their colors of light.
Okay.
And it was weird because, stars twinkle and, can be different colors, but they don't stay in the same place night after night or day after day. Well, I don't see them in the day, of course. But then it's like, we first noticed it when he's like, that's a meteor shower when we first met. And I'm like, no, okay, whatever. And then I let him think what he wanted. And then he said, Eric, meteors don't go horizontally or back up.
So just to gauge it, when you see it again, it would be good to gauge it and report it to MUFON. And the full moon is the size of your thumbnail at arm's length. I mean,
They're bigger
an
than that.
aspirin, I'm sorry.
The actual triangle itself.
aspirin.
Oh,
the,
yeah.
the whole triangle.
The whole triangle.
The whole triangle.
It's not one thing.
If
They're
I'm
all
holding
different
my thumb up here,
Yes.
if I'm holding my thumb up here, we're talking like here.
So huge.
They're big.
But gauge it, and you'll need that for your report. And attempt to get photographic evidence if you can. Would anyone else like to?
Don't worry about whether or not the photographs are big enough or if you have a way of enlarging them. They can be enlarged later. What you're seeing is not unusual. I'm from Arizona, and we have several of these types of sightings every year. The Phoenix Lights is probably the most memorable. There have been sightings over power plants. I don't know if you have a power energy source in that area. These delta wing triangular shapes. They're seen over towers, transmission towers, power plants. It's quite normal. What they are, where they're from, really nobody has any idea. There hasn't been a lot of communication there. Dr. Lynn, who took the original Phoenix Lights footage, is a very dear friend of mine. She, since then, and she was a medical doctor, I mean, left-brained AMA guy, lady, and she suddenly developed this innate sense of openness, wanting to feel like she was part of something bigger, and they actually began communicating with her on a whole different level, and that was about a year after her sighting. But these are seen all over the world. I've been in South America and had reports come in from people that say basically the same thing you are saying, and that these little orbs or balls come in and go out of them. So what you're saying is not unusual. And don't be afraid of it, because they haven't harmed anybody yet. Okay.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you all for this conference as well.
You got the routine.
Yeah, I do. Penny, this first question's for you, and I'm wondering, and maybe you're not comfortable answering this, but I'm wondering if there's anything about the ETs that you haven't yet disclosed that you might be willing to with us.
We'd be here for next week. Maybe I'll save that for next year. If I come back next year, talk about the different races that I have met, worked with, encountered, seen. There's too many. There's too many to actually go into descriptions of. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
There's probably a dozen that I'm quite familiar with. So I'll leave it at that, okay?
And Dr. Sam, I also wanted to ask you, the Hall of Records, that grand gallery, do you suspect there's one in the Bosnian pyramid?
1999, Zahi Havas and 4 more people, they started digging under the Sphinx left pawn. During the daytime, they would put the wooden pallets, cover it, and after 5 p.m., when archaeological park was closed, they would continue digging. And we know that they did discover the underground tunnel. They came to the big stone, big rock, rounded rock. They did not know how to remove it, so they used explosive. And if they knew how to produce, certain frequency, it would be probably much easier. And this is what we know for sure. Also talking about the Sphinx and the Hall of the Record, because there are 2 more passageways leading from the Sphinx exactly in the middle of under the Giza Plateau. And it is said that they eventually did find 2 huge galleries with a lot of artifacts. And they never revealed that, being afraid that it's going to change everything, the religious system, political, and so on and so forth. That's one thing. Also, yesterday I spoke a little bit about the discoveries of 2 Italian geophysicists and a software programmer who claimed that most probably 2 kilometers, 1.2 miles below the second largest pyramid, there is a huge underground city. And I mentioned Hall of Amenti because that's what people think, that it's hidden under there. So that's about the Egypt. So still we don't have independent verification. If we still have, but I'm sure it has to be something real big. As far as the Bosnia, we've done some scanning, georadar scanning, and what we discovered tunnels as deep as 100 meters, which is about 350 feet. So far, we discovered 2 entrances to underground tunnels at 2 different levels, 7 total, but 2 levels, and I suspect that we have 7 of them. And if you listen to my talk when I spoke about the Akashic record, 2 readers actually confirmed that we do have 7 levels. And deeper you go, they become more technological. So instead of just the conglomerate, pebbles, rocks, sand, you actually have shaped blocks, megalithic blocks. So it's very possible that there is so much more to discover under the Bosnian pyramids, yes.
Thank you. Thanks, Penny.
Hi, good morning. My question is for Brit. How do these aliens, and maybe for you too, how do they speak our language, or is it all telepathic?
In the Meyer case, what he was told by the Palladians is that they can learn any earth language, whether it's ancient or current, in a matter of 2 weeks. They get it. And if there happens to be something they don't understand, they have a language translator that is a physical object that can translate for them. The interesting thing about that with Meyer, he told us this back in 1976. It was a few years after that that Casio finally came out with the little language translator. Nobody was talking about things like that then. But it's something that I've heard working with other contactees. They say the same thing. They know the languages. They can learn them quickly, and therefore they communicate in their native tongue. In Billy's case, it was Swiss German, which is a dialect of German that is weird. But that's what happened, is she walked out, introduced herself in his language. Penny, did you want to add to that?
There's a couple things I could say. I agree. I was going to say they learn the language very, very quickly, and a lot of it is telepathic. And it has been my experience that when you meet somebody else from somewhere else, that's the first thing you do. Where have you been? And you start trading symbols. And so the symbols from this reality, things like cars, airplanes, cup of coffee, table with fork and knife and spoon on it, things like that. That's all symbolic of where have you been. And so when you find somebody that recognizes those symbols, then they know that's the language that they can share. And they have a huge range of languages. You know, I studied a little Spanish. It took me forever. So I don't know how they do it, but it's amazing. So.
Hi.
I have 3 questions. Is that allowed? Maybe. Okay, and they're all, I'm sorry. They're all left brain, so bear with me. Okay, number 1. How do we account for the overpopulation in the future states where cities are not going to exist like they do now? We're going to be like groups of people. Okay, our population is about to kill the planet as it is. So in the future state, what happens? Is there a reduction in fertility, or are there major catastrophes like COVID? What changes the landscape?
I think what changes is propaganda. We are having a population collapse right now. The demographics everywhere are down. And there's only 40% of the earth that has seen human footprints. So we still have a lot of land left. As we develop technology, good technology, we have the option of changing many of the conditions in many places. Right now, I don't see any overpopulation. I think that's a predictive story designed to make us feel guilty about being here and to look the other way when big masses of people die from some kind of generated problem. So I don't think we're going to have any kind of problem with overpopulation. We do have a problem with cities, and that makes the population problem look bad. So.
How about food production in terms of population?
Food production is when you work in the lab. I'll just share some stuff from the lab. You treat seeds, and you get anywhere from 70% to 400% more product, and it's higher nutrition, high density nutrition, and it tastes better. You don't have a food problem. You need very little high density nutrition food in order to nurture the body. When you have no nutrition in that food, then you need a ton of it, and that's half of the, maybe 90% of the obesity problem, is that there's nothing to nourish the body in the food. So.
Number 2, what is the alien explanation for Eve making the decision to eat the apple and changing the course of humanity? I'm serious.
Any of us really know?
Yeah.
It's not a question that.
Have you read any Paul Wallace books? Have you read any Morbilino books? Oh, you might want to check that out.
Number 3, I'm sorry, I'm a fan of Skinwalker. And they have the cattle mutilations, which does not seem very benevolent for the rest of society. You got 2 messages at once. Their behavior is not benevolent. And why aren't those guys scared when they're sitting there watching the cows go up and down? Why aren't they aware of the fact that their own mortality is at stake? That's a serious question.
Okay, so I'll say some more. It is not very benevolent. They are after the blood and the mucous membrane in that animal. We are not very benevolent. When you drive past the massive beef farms in Texas or Kansas or Oklahoma, the massive chicken farms, the massive hog farms, are we any different? We're really not. And there's another part of that program. When you look at the we'll call it the destruction of the human DNA, the human genome. My people started collecting good DNA 100 years ago in order to be able to reseed if we needed to. And that's been a big project. Every single kind of DNA, and DNA is the most sought after product across the entire galaxy. DNA seeds new populations, gives you options, and that's really, I don't think we need to feel bad about the animal mutilations. The stories that they've told about it are just ridiculous. They are as gentle as they can be with those cows. They just put them out of their misery. It's all over in 5 minutes. When you have been on a farm and you watch slaughter going on, and I have been involved in that for my whole life, it's like there's got to be a better way to do this, and we don't have that better way yet. So
I think we should be glad they're not eating us.
That's right.
Well, that was sort of what I was going to say. One of the things we talk about the animals on this planet and how we treat them, we've got to look at how we treat each other and what they see when they're watching us. How do we respond to someone that needs assistance, needs help, something like that? We ignore each other for the biggest part. So if you're just visiting this planet and you're watching us interact with each other on that level, what do you take as the norm? You would understand that that's how we treat each other, and it's okay. And I've had several contactees, unfortunately, tell me that.
There's a very gifted experiencer named Paul Hamden in Australia, and he communicates with ETs, and he asked that question. And what they said to him is, "You eat your own, don't you?"
Another question for Dr. Sam. You mentioned people behind the scenes. I think you might have referred to them as monsters that are suppressing a lot of this information. I'm curious, A, about who these people are, but more about why would they be suppressing the information?
Rothschild Frankfurt, Rothschild Paris, Rothschild London, Rothschild Napoli, Rothschild Barcelona, Rockefellers, DuPont, Morgans. 150 years ago, they decided to start using energy sources that are dirty, limited, very expensive, and they got extremely rich. They are super billionaires. The richest people on the planet are not Bill Gates, Zuckerberg, Elon Musk. They are not. The richest people are those who print the money. In this country, there is an institution called Fed, Federal Reserve. People thinking, oh, federal, so probably it's a government agency. Well, it is not. In 1913, Woodrow Wilson signed the law which established Fed. 13 the wealthiest families became a central bank of this country, and they are the ones who print the money without the control of the government. They actually loan the money to the government. We are talking about budget of 3,000 to 4,000, billions of dollars, and they are getting interest from the government. Well, of course, not from the government, from us, because through the taxes. So right now it's 50,000 billions, and only for the interest this country is paying to those wealthy families, more than 500 billions a year. So they are extremely rich. So for them, it's not about the money. They have all the resources they want, and they can do all the projects they want without the control of the government. In Europe, it's the Central European Bank. If you read official sites, you would say, oh, this is the bank, that was established by 29 national banks in Europe. Germany, Bank of Deutschland, and France, Spain, Italy, and so on. Well, the thing is, the share of the government money in those countries is less than 40%. More than 60% are private banks. And I did mention the biggest one, Rothschild, from different countries. So they are the ones who decides how much money will be printed, what the interest rate would be, which is very important. If your interest rate is 10%, the bigger companies, they won't, borrow the money. Without the money, there is no big projects from the big companies, no projects to the mid-sized companies, no projects to the small companies, and you have recession. So they decide about the recession, they decide about the boom, of the economy. They decide about exchange rates. The higher exchange rates, your money, if it is very expensive, then your goods are expensive, you cannot export. And stuff like that. So they decide about everything. So once they have all the power through the money, they have corporation, they have pharmaceutical industry, they have food production, they have all so-called media, it's just the propaganda. They have, education system, they have health system, they have everything. They control our lives. And as you can see in the last few thousand years, and especially 150 years, that control is reaching very high level, and we are not in a good position. So to refer to the previous question about overpopulation, in a way, she is right. 200 years ago, it was 1 billion of us people, 1 billion. 2021, we reached 8 billion. From 1 to 8, it's a lot. So we basically exterminated 50% of all the plants and 50% of all the animals. And people are saying it's because of humanity. No, it is because of the corporate greed. What is 8 billion people? You can place all 8 billion of us in a great state of Texas, and everybody would have his home and backyard and front yard, 8 billion. Or you can place all of them in Iran if they want to go to Iran. The point is, there is enough room for 100 billion people. But it's not about the number, it's about the fair distribution. Because we don't have fair distribution, you have extremely wealthy, very, very small percentage, and you have 90% who are struggling every, month to pay the bills. And not only that, every 3 seconds, one child dies on this planet because of the hunger. Every 3 seconds. So as I'm talking, a child just died in Niger, in Nigeria, in Sierra Leone, in South Sudan, in Ethiopia, in Yemen, in Bangladesh, and so on. If somebody is looking at us from above, we think that we are technologically very advanced, that we are smart. No, we are not. Number one, we are very violent. In the last 8,000 years, 15,000 major wars. And another thing, what we do to our fellow species is so bad. So we are still in the elementary school. It will take who knows how many hundreds of years until we get to the level that we can say, yes, the global consciousness is at this level, and we can be a player among other developed civilizations throughout our galaxy.
I have 2 quick questions. One is for Dr. Sam. So you talked about the guy who replicated the pyramid, but like a smaller version. Is it realistic that one of us could replicate one of those? And how small could it be to still work and still stay accurate to that?
Of course it is realistic. In 1951, there was a patent which was developed in then Czechoslovakia. The guy has proven once you make a pyramid, which is a copy of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, a very small one, on a smaller scale, 52 degrees, square base, 4 sides, and the way you have it, it matches the cardinal points, east, west, north, south. Then this pyramid can affect things, goods, fruits, it can sharpen the, stuff. So, yes, what happens once you make a pyramid, you are getting the energy movement, energy flow within the pyramid. And this flow goes like this. It's hitting 1/3 of the height of the pyramid, goes to 2/3, coming back to 1/3, and then complete the circles. And guess what? Those 3 chambers, in the case of Egyptian pyramid, Great Pyramid of Egypt, or Khufu, 3 chambers, they are all on the way of this energy flow, meaning you've been exposed to the energy flow. Then you can have benefits. You can achieve very higher state of spirituality or, health stuff and stuff like that. So, yes, you can build a pyramid. You can use just the copper tubes, for example. Just build the frame and you can sleep under it. Or, you can go inside and meditate. So it's very helpful. But more elements you have, more benefits. Shape is number 1. Material is number 2. Orientation is number 3. Put some quartz crystals around, number 4. Put it above underground energy flow, number 5. Put it, above ley lines, number 6, and so on and so forth.
My other question is, some of y'all talk about like telepathy, like talking to extraterrestrials, and I was like, I don't know, it's just the concept of that is kind of violating, because is it like they can know everything, or is it just what they want, like what we want them to know, like we're talking?
You can know everything. However, you have to have some common sense. You have to have some psychic manners. You have to have some people that are willing to commit to being good, to having good intent, et cetera, et cetera. And we don't have a whole lot of any of that right now here, so we demand privacy as a substitute. Telepathy is coming, but only after we get to a little bit higher state of consciousness and a little bit better, stronger commitment to what is good, beautiful, true, wisdom, power, grace, all those kinds of things. It's coming. It's coming.
It's out of cardboard, and you'll still get an effect. I did it when I was younger. Look up Dr. Pat Flanagan.
Okay. Thank you.
What I told her was she can build pyramids out of cardboard and still get the effect. I did it when I was a teenager and was able to verify without a doubt that there was an effect. I told her to look up Dr. Pat Flanagan and look at some of the stuff that he did. So, yeah, it works.
I appreciate everything I've picked up here, and it's been very good. The one person I had a question for is not here, but perhaps somebody might want to take it, and it involves, I'm thinking there's a correlation of consciousness with dark energy, and just wondering if there's any thoughts or research on that.
Yeah. So dark energy really is not dark energy, okay? It is an ether of sorts. There are more, how do I say it? There are more types of materials that we haven't even begun to investigate, don't even know that they exist. So dark energy is really kind of a misnomer. It's really all about frequency and plasma, et cetera, et cetera. What we used to call dark energy is really just, that is part of the spectrum that we do not address. Kind of like if we talk about the consciousness, the unconsciousness, the subconsciousness, superconsciousness, it's all consciousness. We just don't address what's over in the unconscious. We don't have any use for it. And so we say that's unconscious. It's really not. It's accessible, especially if you expand consciousness. But if you have no point, you don't go there. Same with superconscious. It's something that you move up into. You either stay or you visit now and then, or you incorporate into who and how you are. So dark energy is still being used as a term by physicists and scientists all around the world, but there is really no dark energy. It's just a form of light that we have not yet addressed or investigated.
Look up what's called superlight, superluminal radiation.
Dr. Sam, and your excellent talk. Could you address the sarcophagus in the Great Pyramid? I had read, maybe through World Explorer magazine or a defunct magazine now, that it wasn't for a dead body. It was encrusted with salt or something else inside of it that led them to believe there's something else was going on with it. So could you address that sarcophagus?
Sarcophagus is a place where you buried someone, so it has a purpose. Like I said yesterday, in that particular case, in a so-called King's Chamber in the Great Pyramid of Egypt, there is a huge granite box. This is what it is. And there is no lid. It's open. You go in there and you lay. You can do that. You pay a little bit money to those policemen. And immediately what you can feel is that something is going around your body, and you flow somewhere, you go to universe. That's the immediate feelings that you have. Why? You are exposed to the pyramid energy. And when I talked 2 days ago about the spiritual senses, one of them is potential to remove the brakes from the body, from physical body, and let your soul moving out of the body. And then once you are free, you can go wherever you want. You can, travel through space and time. And I believe that at least one purpose was to allow our soul to leave the physical body and to travel in the universe. That's at least. When I say at least, there is a possibility that even the through transportation could be achieved there. Now, for the transportation, we need to move the actual body. And I think there is a potential to do that. You have to have two elements secured. The first one is you have to know the technique. And the second one, you have to have energy field which is strong enough to take you places. When is our mother planet the strongest? During the solstice and equinox. And the ancients knew that. Since the pyramid amplifies the energy, if our mother planet is the strongest during those 4 days a year, obviously the energy would be the strongest.
Oh, hi. Just wanted to say thank you for everyone who decided to invest the time, energy, and resources to show up. I consider that a gift. To me, time's really the only thing that can't be reproduced and inflated into infinity, and therefore anybody who invests in it is making a real effort. My question is to you, so it's really to everyone here. If we live in a world where the supervillains have already won, what do we do now? Do we just white knuckle this ride, or is there something that we can do to have more agency in this existence? Do we go down the Gateway tapes route? Do we take psychedelics? Do we just sit in contemplation? Because I love to speculate as much as the next person, but I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. What do you guys think?
Well, the villains look like they have won, but they really haven't. We are building a new world. We have to become new humans to do that, because you cannot change anything if you don't change the consciousness. The world that we have is a result of the consciousness we hold. So changing the consciousness is really an important step. Once we start that process, it's kind of like building a better mousetrap kind of thing. People will come to where things are better. They just naturally gravitate to that. And I think, let me just give an example. I have a son who's was married, got divorced, had a terrible first relationship, okay? Spent a lot of time alone, meets somebody, and she's wonderful, and she brings out the best in him. And he was talking to his ex, and she said, "She's got the man I wanted." And he said, "Yeah, and she works at bringing that forward." We bring out stuff in one another with our attitude, our body language, our tone of voice, the words we choose, etc. And if you're not conscious of that, you don't know what you're doing. So as we develop, we're going to bring out the best in one another, and everybody is going to transform. So don't worry about it, okay?
All right. You know, during the Corona project, for 3 years, many people felt helpless. Because, you know, the government is saying you cannot do this, you cannot do that, you cannot go out after, 10 p.m., or you cannot have your right for expression if you share some stuff on internet, on Instagram, you know, social media, Facebook, website, YouTube. They shut you down because you think differently. But, you know, these are our human rights. Some of them are cosmic rights, divine rights. So what they were doing, you know, they were removing our freedoms, and that was very bad. And like I said, many people felt helpless. Even during those times I was traveling, US and Germany and England and France and even Africa and so on. So I was thinking, people, somebody thinks, you know, okay, I'm alone. What can I do against the system? I can do nothing. Well, I disagree. Every one of us is like a little candle. You light the candle, you're going to bring some light in that far corner. And imagine 150 of us here. We light our candles. We bring the light into this dark room. And 5 million and billions of us, we become more organized. We bring the light to this planet. How do you start? How do you light your candle? Yeah, the answer is the consciousness. Once we bring the consciousness in our lives, once we learn how not to fear anything, how to become free, once we are free, once we are changed, that we changed everything. And the politicians, without sheeps, they realize they cannot have the power over us no more. And they become what they are supposed to be, our service to us, normal, good intentional, average people.
Several people have asked me how they can participate in raising the collective consciousness in order to help to move us forward. And what I say is that you can do that yourself every day, just by being kind, by projecting love toward other people, just through an emotional sense or a telepathic sense if you have that. It changes things. I've done experiments with the little animals in my yard and on my street, beginning with the little chameleon lizards. I live in Florida. We have them all over the place, and they're very skittish. But I started to do this experiment where I projected love toward them, and they stopped in their tracks and puffed out their little ruby throats. The sandhill cranes, when I did this, began to come close to me and bring their babies close to me. I live on a street with a cow pasture, and the cows behave the same way. And I did it with the people on the street. And some of them were not nice people. And it changes people. When I go to the grocery store, it's just nice to be nice to other people. And it's so it's becomes part of something that spreads. Because if people are nice to you, that makes your day. And so your consciousness is raised higher, and you're happier. And that's all it is. Everybody can participate in this to change our planet. Thank you.
I want to ask your permission. Do you guys mind if I make a brief comment? Okay. I'm an eternal optimist, okay? I want to believe that everything's going to work out okay, we're going to survive this, we're going to get better. And I truly believe that. I think that all of this bad crap in the world that's happening right now has to be pushed to the surface so that we have no choice but to deal with it, not only as a society, but more importantly as an individual. It's got to be pushed to the surface and just shoved in our face so we can make individual decisions about how we feel about politics, racism, greed, all of that kind of stuff. But I can't just say, I want all of you to love each other. Okay, it's not gonna, no. I can say, I want you to figure out how to love yourself. I want you to figure out how to serve the universe. You do the same thing. You do the same thing. We each have to make an individual decision about how we're going to deal with all of the crap that's being shoved in our face right now. And if we make a loving decision, then we're going to make it through this. Sorry, did I steal your question?
No. Thank you all for being here. I can't top that. But I would like to know if anybody, for people who have reported traveling to other places, have they reported changes to their skin when they got back?
That's interesting.
Some people who have been taken to craft, and this is in the Defense Intelligence Agency's reports that have been released, have sunburn without the sun. There's been exposure. Also, during my lecture, I showed patterned marks on experiencers' bodies, and they're the same patterned marks on people around the world. We don't know why this occurs, but it does. Sometimes this conjunctivitis as well, but the exposure to the bright light can do that. And I think the sunburn without the sun is probably just an accident. They make mistakes too. Sometimes they drop people.
It has been my observation and my experience that when you enter into their environment, there's a different frequency signature to that, and you respond. when you respond, it changes you chemically. That creates waste. When you come back, that waste has to be gotten rid of. It comes out through the skin. And so there are things like psoriasis, patches, itchy patches, scaly patches, all kinds of stuff like that. So that's maybe a partial answer to your question.
Thank you so much. One more question that I have is, are there points on Earth where the vehicles travel to and from the most?
Okay, they're everywhere, but there has been a hot spot, and that's Mexico, since 1991. I personally have over 10,000 videos from people in Mexico over this period of time. They're sightings, they are not contacts. That's really interesting because they're just visible. And everybody's watching them. They go up on hills and drag grandma, grandpa, the kids, the beer cooler, everything, and wait for them to show up. So right now, and since 1991, the solar eclipse then, there has been an inordinate amount of activity. But it's also beginning in South America in the same way. Japan has had more sightings in the last 5 years than they've ever recorded before. So it's happening all over the world. But those are really the big hot spots right now. And if you want to go to Mexico, go to a place called Atlisco, climb a hill called Casita Blanca, and sit there and wait with everybody else because they come in daily.
For the whole panel, my last UFO encounter, it was 11 in the morning. I looked out my back window. I thought that was, boy, that moon is bright for daytime. And then it just started expanding. It filled about a third of the sky. And across the top were all these symbols just streaming like a ticker tape. I could make them out, but I had no understanding of what they meant. My question is, was I being communicated with at a level that I'm not conscious of yet? Or, yeah, I just wonder what those symbols were about. It was very purposeful. I mean, it shifted. At first it was at the top of the disc, and then it was at the bottom of the disc, and then very briefly right in the middle. And I was just curious as to, was I being imprinted with something? It was a very benign experience, very positive.
I'll say a couple things in terms of every encounter has some personal aspect to it. And it depends to some extent on, are you already connected to that group? And when they show you their language, okay, each symbol is a book in itself. When they write a book, it's a symbol. And so when you have, I'll say, experience with them, and you have been either a historian or a record keeper of some sort, then that's typically what they're going to show you is, remember this? In order for you to understand that you're connected, and maybe remember that that's what the connection is, that you belong to that race. A lot of people have had implants. The implants are just different. They're people from different groups of ETs, and they will say, well, we'll keep track of you, watch over you, make sure you're safe. Some people will get all upset and have that removed, and other people don't even know that it's there. But there's a lot of people here that are from elsewhere as volunteers for this mission, helping people to raise consciousness and get to a new dimension. A new dimension is actually a new frequency range of being. And that's why all of the sites that we investigated in the lab were very high frequencies. Very high, because those are people who have managed to move their frequencies up and keep it up. So that's an attempt just to communicate with you and trigger memory and belonging. So, and you must be some sort of historian.
There's something else that I think it's important for all of us to remember. When we have these types of experiences, they may not be for that moment. They're registering something within you, past life, but there's something in there that you already know. So if you don't know what it is in that moment, don't worry about it. It will surface when you need it.
Also, I would recommend for all experiences to keep a journal. And just like Brit just said, maybe not right now, but maybe later on, and make sure you have a journal and you can look back, and if you can draw the symbols, remember them, maybe compare them to other, literature or stories, or maybe somewhere in the historical references that might have, I don't know what kind of symbols they were, but as much detail as you can remember, and also pay attention to dreams that may reflect on some of this, and synchronicities. It can be certainly an ongoing thing that can last years.
Comment. I was going to, I'll reiterate it. When they're showing you the symbols, document what they look like to the best of your ability. And Preston Dennett, are you familiar with him? He's spoken here. He's an author, highly respected. He wrote about Dolly Saffron. And Dolly Saffron knows the meanings of those symbols. So if you could, she's a highly advanced experiencer. And if you get in touch with Preston and you have those, you could ask for Dolly to interpret the meaning.
As far as symbols are concerned, I would just relate some of the things that Stringfield had talked about, where symbols were seen on the outside circumference of different craft and also on the inside as well. But personally, I believe that there has to be a transnational team of linguistic experts that are deciphering these. There has to be a team looking at that. So that's just my assessment.
All right, yeah, thank you, everybody. This question's for Michael. I believe with the crash retrievals, there's private corporations sitting on earth-healing, earth-changing, life-changing technologies that are being suppressed. Knowing that there's pyramid technology and inner technology that also represents this physical technology that I believe exists. Are you hearing any increased chatter that some of these technologies might come out? There's medbed language coming out. President Trump said very recently that we have some amazing technology that we're sitting on, and I think that was he was maybe leaning towards the weaponry that comes from the scalar technology. I believe scalar technology can heal, and it can also be used as weaponry as well. So, didn't know if you have heard anything of any releasing of maybe the positive technology, and maybe even the negative technology that's getting a little closer, being introduced to the public here.
I think there'd probably be two ways to answer that question. Is number one, it is still beneficial for aerospace companies and defense contractors to keep selling obsolete technology like F-16s, F-15s. If they do have this advanced technology, why are we still using these obsolete jet fighters? It's because it's still profitable for them to do that. Second way to answer the question is, when you talk about technologies being done, test flights being done, Air Force Plant 42 is ground zero for all of this man-made technology that has allegedly been reverse engineered from the crash retrievals. To get to your question, regarding the crash retrievals and things that we might see, if the evidence is pointing to the direction that we think it is, from the witnesses, from the evidence that Stringfield had brought together, it appears that a dirty deal was cut between the United States government and the defense contractors early on in the crash retrievals. The government basically told these defense contractors, I don't care what you need to do, and you're free and welcome to profit from the technology. You can trickle down the technology and use it to profit from. That's fine. All we want to know are two things. What is the free energy technology that we can gain from these devices that we've been recovered? And what is the weapons advancement technology that we can exploit from the technology associated with these crash retrievals? I don't see anything on the foreseeable horizon where it'll trickle down to us. I'm hopeful that that will happen because they absolutely are sitting on this technology. There's no doubt about that. So hopefully, if this continues going on, more legacy witnesses are identified and they come forward, we might have a chance of getting to the technology.
Hi, I've got a couple questions. Sam, starting with you. Thank you, like each of you, number one, thank you for the information that you've shared. I've gained something different from each of you. I'm completely new to this realm, so to speak, right? This is all new to me in ways, but there's confirmations that have taken place too. The Pleiadians are one of my guides. I didn't know that the other day when I met you, so it was just like, you spoke about the pyramids, and you spoke of the technology that we have now, and some of it shows like it's the horizontal, but then the ones that you're exploring too, the energy is going up. Do you have a theory of what would make them each different, or why some of them are going vertical versus the horizontal as far as the energies go?
There are three energy flows. I described one of them, the one within the pyramid, which is circular. The second one, energy going off the pyramid, affecting our agriculture, affecting our communities in a positive way. And number three, energy going up, but both ways. As I explained during my lecture, the pyramids are transmitters. They emit the energy. They emit those non-Hertzian waves known as scalar fields or Tesla's energies. The pyramids act as the antennas. They receive the information. So it goes both ways. I also explained that the Bosnian pyramid energy beam is directed towards the sun in the morning, east, noontime, south, afternoon, southwest, evening, west. So it seems that our planet does communicate with our star, with our sun, and maybe using our sun as a stargate, going to other star systems, other galaxies maybe. And if we are point A, where is the point B? Where is the point C? So we are just part of the system. Cosmic internet. And that's another proof that whoever designed and built the pyramids, first around our planet, but then on the other planets, were so much more advanced than us.
And then one other piece. So some of the messages that have come from the star beings, is there a place, like you shared a lot of wonderful messages, I'm gonna say timeless wisdom, so to speak. Is there a place that is kind of collecting some of these messages for us to connect with or read? I know that some of it's in books, but.
This is what I am asking for all these organizations, all of you, experiencers, investigators, get together and create a place where this information can be shared. Billy Meyer's messages are online. I'm going to put that information on my website. That way anybody can go find the link and go read what you want to read. But there's so much going on. And we have got to get to a space where it is shared. We want to know. As an investigator, as a human, I want to know more. And right now, it's you have to get in and search and hope you find something valid. And that's unfortunate, because every one of us sitting up here, every one of you, have got great information to share.
So the information that was revealed, I think it was yesterday, it was almost like some of these pyramids, some of these structures are hiding other things, right? And I think that's beautiful. There's a place in Australia that's come into my awareness, and I don't know if there's any activity that's related to it. And I think it's ULURU or the Ayers Rock. Are any of you familiar with it? Or you? Okay, thank you. Say that again.
Uluru. Yeah, Uluru.
What about it? Does it feel like there's something hidden within that? It almost feels like the pyramids are a technology, right? But it feels like that rock, there's something special about, I don't know what I'm talking about, but there's a felt experience that there's something there.
In Central Australia, there is a place called Uluru. Uluru is a sacred space for the original people of the land, not aborigines. Original, they were original. This is officially the biggest monolith on the planet. So you can see a huge rock. It's millions of tons. It's naturally made. It was so sacred for original people that males could use some parts, females some others. They could not go to, all the places. When it comes to the original people of the land, they are saying for 1,000 generations, they've been there. 1,000 generations is 25,000 years. Actually, it's about 55,000, according to the genetical, investigation, anthropological genetics. And it seems that 55,000 years back, these are their oral traditions, they were visited and they were told that they do not originate from this planet. And then there is a way to go, wander the universe, and they should be able to find their home planet. And for generations, they were trying to do that during, their not astral projections, but soul projections. When the Englishmen came in, 250 years ago, 18th century, they found those people in the land. Some of them, they were completely naked. They said, "Oh, these are, very primitive people. They don't carry anything, they don't wear anything, but they did not care about the physical aspect, but they did care about the spiritual aspect. They were so proficient, even nowadays, and they don't release all the information what they were doing. And Uluru was probably the most sacred place for them. And I would say it has something to do with our, star travel or space travel for them.
Well, I've got a loaded question for you. Probably every one of you is going to have a different answer to this. Religion. Has this ever been brought up with the aliens or in either direction? Theirs, ours? We've got hundreds of types of religion. I mean, how about the Big Bang Theory? Does that exist? I'd like to know what type of conversations and also your thoughts on what religion they do have, if they have one.
As far as I know, within the Stringfield collection, there's no religious implications talked about from Stringfield witnesses, and that's my comment.
Well, a lot of your contact experiences do feel that there are some, I think, primary areas that, again, and I think I speak pretty much for all of us, at least for the positive communications that occur, it's about caring for your fellow humans and other beings throughout the universe and getting along and everything that's been really discussed already here. But what the primary message of all religions all over the world basically is love one another and care. But down the road, things get corrupted.
In Forbidden Knowledge, I wrote about an experiment that a number of researchers and I participated in with non-humans, with a man who was able to communicate with non-humans. We were able to meet once a month and to ask questions. And this was on the condition that they would give us physical evidence to indicate that this was real and not just the imaginings of this man, which they did. And we did ask questions about religion and their religious beliefs. And the answer that we received is that there is one creator. And, you know, although we have many, many religions on our planet, there is one creator, they said, which is the source energy, the highest vibration. So in the most recent study that I've worked on with Dr. Melanie Barton Bragg, it is about religious belief and extraterrestrial life. And we're undergoing statistical analysis right now. Once I do the statistical analysis, it's going to go up to Concordia University in Montreal, where there will be an AI analysis as well. But one thing I did notice is that we were attempting to attract many religious people to this, and we got a little over 400 out of 1,005 participants. And so something that surprised me was that a small percentage said that they had actually prayed with these non-humans. So that's all I can tell you at this point. We are going to attempt to have a peer-reviewed journal article, and then Melanie and I are going to write 2 books, one for the religious community and just one for the general public.
I can speak to what Billy was told by the Pleiadians, and that is that there is a creation. They do not call it creator, they don't call it God, they call it creation. It exists in all things. And that's what we have to recognize within each other. When we start understanding that that connection is everywhere, in us, in each other, in all that we experience, then we start raising our frequencies naturally. But it takes that recognition first.
Well, looks like the Big Bang Theory series is going to have to go
No
away,
Big
I
Bang.
guess.
There was no Big Bang.
Thank you.
Anyone here can answer this question or try to. We've been just, it's a fantastic group of people, fantastic information. I have a rather simple question is we've got these fantastic ships that are showing up from where we don't know, popping in and out through different dimensions, and some are bulletproof. I mean, you show all kinds of crash retrievals. My question is, why would they come here and crash? How could they crash and kill the occupants, but yet the ships survive? That's what I wonder, how they could pop into here from maybe trillions of miles and then crash into this planet and kill the occupants. That's what just kind of intrigues me. How could they get here and crash when they've bypassed stars and meteors and other planets and pop here and then crash into a mountainside? I'm going, that doesn't make any sense, but does anybody have any comments?
Well, as I mentioned in my presentation, there's a lot of reports where the craft actually have gone through into hillsides. And, somehow interdimensional or whatever, at least those beings had technology that could do it. And then there were also, I know John Keel commented about a lot of reports of craft that were crippled and on the side or in front of a car coming down the highway. And it looked like they were working on it and then it took off. And he felt that was just a ruse, that they were just trying to create a frame of reference that they sometimes want to lead us on to different ideas about the phenomena. And he felt some of it was deceptive and kind of trickster-like. So,
Like they ran out of gas?
well, really. I hope it's not that simple.
Just a little something to add here. Years and years ago, there was a group of several individuals who were having contacts with Zeta Reticulans. And they said one of their craft crashed because our radar of the time interfered with it. So that is a possibility. It's nothing that's ever been proven, but it is a theory.
I know that over Roswell, New Mexico, at the time in the 40s, they were doing hydrogen bomb experiments in the sky. And they could have very well passed through, all of a sudden a supernova show up in front of them that they hadn't planned on, and they fly through a supernova. But and I know they're developing scalar weapons now that they're saying they're taking down about 2 a year. But before, that's what intrigues me is why we have crashes.
Now you got an energy propulsion system. All you need to do is disrupt that energy, and they, instead of going like this, they go like that. And now we got a bunch of them in a warehouse. Yeah, don't think we haven't shot some of them down, because
sure they have, yeah.
That sounds like something we'd do.
One more time. In 1980, I went through a Kundalini awakening, and about 3 months after that, I went out of my body. I was meditating. I went out of my body, and I found myself hovering, I can't even estimate, maybe a quarter mile or a half mile above the earth. And down below was, I assumed at the time it was the Great Pyramid. It was a pyramid, and there were two beings hovering about 20 feet away from me, and they were conversing with it. One of them was explaining to the other one that the purpose of this pyramid, and I could see that there was an inverted field right above the pyramid, and there was a stream of, I guess they were souls, but the one was explaining to the other one, and I could hear it very clearly because it was otherwise silent. He was explaining to the one that these souls were coming into this energy field in order to learn the rules that applied on Earth, like gravity, the need for water, etc. And that was so strange to me, this whole experience, that I've always wondered if that was just a fantasy of mine, or that I made it up, or if any of you have ever heard of anything like that sort of energy field that would basically familiarize people as they were incarnating, basically. And I saw the people spiraling down, down, down to the point of this inverted energy field towards the top of that pyramid.
There's a couple of comments that I would make. When you are teaching yourself, each of us teaches ourselves, your consciousness is much more capable than you might think you are or believe you are. And so all of the things that you just mentioned, you saw craft and you're above, you had the Kundalini experience, that's an awakening. You're above the earth. Okay, that means you have risen in frequency so that you no longer are in the frequencies of Earth. You see this pyramid. Pyramid is a fabulous, fabulous symbol of a new use of energy. And there's two people talking, and then there's a stream of souls. That's your consciousness showing you that there are other forms of energy, there are other kinds of beings, and that stream of souls are the lineup to come back to planet Earth. When I first got involved in this whole woo-woo kind of thing, I had heard from so many people that that they were out of here. that they were done with this planet. They were leaving and they weren't coming back to this reality. And so when I would go elsewhere to places where people gathered after death, they were all lined up to come back. And my thought was, what is wrong with this picture? Everybody couldn't wait to get out, and now they can't wait to get back? What's wrong here? What's going on? And this is such a powerful reality. Some other places are barren. They have fabulous consciousness, but they don't have any stuff. They don't have any green stuff. They don't have plants. They don't have many animals. Their machinery is very few, very little. And they're not engaged with their machines like we are with ours. Everybody has a car. Everybody has a phone. That's machinery. And so what we have here is this incredibly rich environment that people learn from and expand within. And that's the lineup to come back, because they're not done expanding. They're not done exploring. So that's, it's, if I were analyzing what your experience was about, it's your consciousness teaching you using motion, people, pyramids, feeling that you're above the earth. All of that is symbolic of your consciousness showing you things that you can see when you get beyond the frequencies of this dimension, or above, a little bit higher.
We come to Earth because of the bees. Beer, bourbon, bacon, and anything else you can think of that starts with the letter B that's a lot of fun.
Okay. Oh, I like that. That's good.
One last question.
I know the rules now. But each one of you have done great presentations. I didn't get to hear everyone, but I heard everything that I could, and I tried to get time with you, and I really enjoyed our interview. But you stayed for a reason for the speaker panel. Not everybody's here, and that means that you still had stuff to offer and you still had answers to give. Individually, what is the one thing that you want to leave these people, myself included, with that you feel like maybe you didn't have the opportunity to share?
I think we need to understand that the reality is much more complex, much more diverse, much more interesting than the little boring lives that we get caught up in. That's what I would like you to remember. It's very, very interesting when you get beyond the limitations of what I'll call ordinary 3D consciousness.
I would suggest that we share with each other, with others, that we learn from each other, because we really have to hit sort of a pace within ourselves of comprehending what is real, because we're working with realities we see and realities we don't see, but they're both important.
Again, I think I would like to ask everyone here just to work to raise the collective consciousness of this planet, to raise the vibration through the expression of love. And this world is so much more complex than any of us ever realized as we were growing up. And it is the dimensions, and it is the higher vibrations as well.
Sometimes I don't know if we even have the language for all the things that we're trying to discern. And we have to be objective and open and caring and try to help our fellow human beings and not make knee-jerk, reactions to things, snap judgments. Be open, be discerning, be objective and caring.
I go to India almost every year, and there are people who go to caves. For 10 years, they don't talk to anyone, and they become spiritual gurus. What is spirituality for us? regular people who live in Europe, in America, in big cities, the most populations are in the big cities. We can go to the caves. Spirituality and its highest form for me is to give, to share, to volunteer. That's the real spirituality.
I certainly didn't hold anything back during my presentation. I have no need to. We already paid for these programs with our tax dollars, so there's nothing I'm hiding on my end. The only thing I will say is when you have 119 crash retrieval first-hand military witnesses, can one or two of those be hoaxers? Sure, absolutely. It's very possible. But when you take the whole group as a united coalition of first-hand military witnesses, now you have a very solid witness pool to pull from. These people are not lying. They're telling us the truth in their own words, and I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that the united coalition of witnesses, taken as a whole, is something to really look into.
Thank you.
I want to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you for coming and sharing your research and spending your time with us. So I can tell you from personal experience, it takes one brand of crazy to want to spend all the time that these people do learning about this phenomenon and then come in here and sharing it with us. So thank you all very, very much.